Guy Madison talks about gay actors from the past, Hollywood. He went out with people in private. Man Robert Ozell Mosley was born Madison Owen in Kern County on January 19, 1992, in California. Raised during the Great Madison originated from humble beginnings during the Great Depression. His early years were stabline small-town ideals, and at first he had no desire to be an actor. When they graduated from Bakersfield, went to college to learn how to care for animals, with the goal of getting a job in agriculture, a strategy that was quickly changed by when World War II started. Madison signed up in the United States Navy during the war and served honorably as a Navy radio operator in the Pacific. His military service shaped much of his character, teaching discipline, love of country, and humility, qualities that people would come to be linked with many of the roles played later. It was during a short leave in Hollywood in 1944 that Madison's life changed in a big way. He was found by talent agent Henry Wilson, who realized his stunning appearance and thought he had the qualities of a movie star. Madison's first that same year, she made her first appearance on film, having a brief, uncredited part in the David O. Selznick made a romance drama he played in Since You Went Away, where he clean-cut soldier, a casting that resonated with Americans during the war. Even though he didn't have much acting experience, Madison's first performance generated a huge response from fans, and Hollywood swiftly paid attention. Selznick signed him up, signing a contract, and soon he was getting ready for fame. In the late 1940s, Madison was in a number of movies that took advantage of his all-Americanage, such as Till the End of Time, 1946, which starred him with Robert Mitchum, and Honeymoon, 1947. At first, critics had varied feelings about him. Reviews since he didn't act very well. Madison's innate charm comes from her background, and honest performance is slowly one of her people. His biggest success occurred when he played the title part character in the popular TV show And the Adventures of Wild Bill was a radio show, Hickok, which ran from 1951 until 1958. The show was a Western based on the actual life frontier marshal. Made it stronger Madison's status as a pop culture star. He wore cowboy clothes with his Sandy Divine Plays jingles. The sidekick, Madison, made Wild Bill Hickok come to life with a mix of brave stoicism and warmth that is easy to get to. The series had millions of viewers and was one of the earliest shows to be on at the same time in both radio and TV. Kids looked up to him, and adults respected him, and the way he played him had the best time for westerns in America's media. His likeness was on lunchboxes, comic books, and even cereal boxes, and even cereal boxes. And Hefton showed out at rodeos and in publicements, always saying hello to fans, being gentle and humble, even though he was successful on TV. Madison kept acting in major films movies in the 1950s and 1960 seconds. He was in a lot of westerns and action movies like The Charge at Feather River, 1953, which became famous for its creative usage of 3D sound effects. As the Western genre started to wane in, Madison changed a lot of his career abroad, notably in Italy, where he was the main character in a number of during spaghetti westerns and war movies the 1960 seconds. These European shows kept his career going strong, and he became a face that people from other countries know. Even though these movies, where Madison always had a reduced budget at times, took his roles seriously and honesty and professionalism. Over the years, Madison slowly stepped away from the spotlight. He stopped working for acting in the late 1970s, but he still was a beloved figure at vintage movies festivals and conventions in the West, where fans of all ages would get together to honor the memory of Wild Bill Hickok and the golden age of westerns. In 1996, Madison won a Golden Boot Award for his work in Western movies and TV, a sign of respect for his lasting effect on the style. In 1949, when he was at the top of his game in Hollywood, Madison married actress Gail while he was famous. Russell, a star who was also a friend, charmed viewers with her haunting, beautiful and full with emotion performance in movies like The Angel and the Bad, 1944, and Uninvited Men, 1947. People thought their marriage was a dazzling match. In the view of the people liked both of them since they were youthful and good-looking, and quickly becoming more important in their own careers. But behind the scenes, their friendship was full with difficult feelings. Russell, who was very a woman who is delicate and shy, had a lot of trouble with social anxiety and alcoholism, which was a problem made worse by the stress of life in Hollywood. Madison thought at first he was helpful, but then he discovered himself being able to handle the emotional toll instability that comes with his agony inside his wife. As Madison's own acting career kept getting better, energy, like his lead role in The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, the emotional and physical distance between the couple got bigger. In the end, they split up in 1953 after 4 years off marriage, and their divorce was final in the month of October 1954. Even though their story ends sadly, Madison allegedly stayed in the union, kind to Russell and her personal problems, even though their lives would go in quite different directions after that. In a shocking change of events, after a series of events, Madison got married again soon after finalizing his divorce from Russell. In the end of October, a married actress Sheila Connolly in 1954, a civil ceremony took place in Juarez, Mexico, a popular place for quick weddings and divorces that were going on. Connolly, who was noted for her roles in the 1950s westerns and dramas, were like Madison's love of the outdoors and for their relationship and family life. At first, they looked stable and affectionate. The pair settled into their home life and went on to have 3 girls, Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison, who had come from a big family himself, said to have been quite proud of fatherhood and sought to find a balance in his Hollywood career and time spent with his kids. But the strains of life as an entertainer, along with Madison's regular trips for work in film and TV in both the US and Europe, started to take a toll on their marriage. By the end of November, the couple had split up by 1960, and their divorce was completed in April 1963. Even though they broke up, Madison kept a friendly relationship with a connection with Connolly and was actively involved in their children's lives. Daughters. In the years that came after, Madison started dating Sumian with actress Gia Calla, who was very beautiful. She was of Italian and Irish origin and had made a name for herself in movies like The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Their relationship was never made official by marriage, although some of their pals said that very strong and emotional hard to understand. Scala, who was recognized for her charisma and has also experienced problems with vulnerability like those of Madison's first wife, including problems with depression and booze, but she and Madison stayed together near and biographical apart. Say their friendship was strong enough that before her early death, that was not explained in Scola named Madison as the person who will get her part of the screen pension fund for actors. People thought this this was a sign of great love and trust, and it showed how strong Theban they had, even if their relationship was not like most others. He has daughters from his first marriage as well, Guy Madison's marriage to Sheila Connelly, having a son called Robert Madison who would become an actor like his father, become an actor like him, born from a separate relationship later in the life of Madison. Robert grew up in Italy, where Madison spent a lot of time during the 1960s and 1970s acting in European movies, especially in the style of spaghetti westerns. Robert made a good living as an actor on his own in Italy, where he was seen making movies and TV shows. Even though the age and location off distance, the connection between father and son was a meaningful one. Guy Madison said to have given advice and helped Robert as he dealt with the problems of life in show business, giving both his work experience and a legacy of strength experience and a history of bouncing back flexibility that had always been a part of his own career. Guy Madison was a well-known person for decades, known to the public as the square-jawed, soft-spoken star of war and westerns movies, most famously playing Wild Bill Hickok in the long-running Adventures of Wild as a TV show. Bill Hickok, with his chiseled good looks, calm demeanor and attractiveness of the boy next door, made him a heartthrob in the 1940s and 50s, with throngs of female fans who loved them, people who like it, but underneath the tough Hollywood veneer and made-up public image, Madison had a far more complicated and intimate life reality, one formed by the rigorous moral rules of the studio system and the constant worry of being found out in an irreverent intolerant of homosexuality. In a posthumously published memoir assembled from correspondence and interviews with people, Madison shows us the chapters that were hidden off his life, including very personal and sincere stories about the romantic ties he had with a number of other actors, a lot of whom were also hidden and bound by the same terrible limits. Names for the first time famous actors and actresses from Hollywood's golden age, not in scandal, but are unmasked, gentle dignity. like men who loved and lived in secret because they were afraid of losing their job's destruction in a time when a hint off being gay might terminate Egypt. Madison's thoughts create a picture of strength, desire, and people connecting. He tells it like it is. She's relationship with Ramon Novarro, Thessalonian film star most famous for his part in Ben-Hur, A Story of the Christ, 1925. Ramon was kind, spiritual, and more intelligent than people thought he was, Madison says. We'd meet in Calman, the corners of West Hollywood, or slip away to Palm Springs under the guise of rest and relaxation. We discovered calm there, the type of tranquility that neither of us could claim in our life in public. He also talks Totterone Power's warmth and compassion. The dashing matinee idol host people talked about being bisexual, but never proven while he was alive. Madison says that Power is charming, deeply conflicted. A man who had to deal with the weight of two sets of expectations. Studio contractual and personal truths. We got in touch with each other in the twilight of his fame after the cameras stopped rolling and the masks were taken off. In those rare and tranquil times, we were just two guys, attempting to figure out what love may be when no one else would see it. Madison also tells Anthony his name, Perkins, the crazy celebrity whose sexual orientation was mostly a secret among people in Hollywood, a secret among people who work in Hollywood. Guy Madison says that their connection was brief, yet strong. Tony was a child and scared, never quite sure of how much he could tell, even to someone who knew what was at stake. Madison remembers, we shared a few passionate months, caught up in both anxiousness and eagerness. He always looked like to be looking behind him and for a good purpose. Madison is perhaps the most moving, talks about his friendship with Rock Hudson, whose death from AIDS in 1985 was a huge change in how people talk about being gay in Hollywood. Madison sees that their relationship is equal parts happiness and sadness. Rock had the grin of a brilliant youth and the heart of a man who had to break himself up to live. We lost our time together, only weekends in Big Bear or quiet dinners in his secret canyon home. But nonetheless, the dull moments can be forever. Throughout his writings, Madison is careful not to sensationalize. His tone is thoughtful, respectful, and full of compassion. Came from common experiences. These weren't just names or trysts. They were meaningful friendships in a world that often denied their very possibility. People believe we went out, but we didn't. Of dating now, he says. It was secretive, cryptic, and careful, but it was real. We laughed and held each other, and we watched the sun come up and chatted a booth life we wanted to live in the open air. The memoir, other than its revealing character, also sheds light on the effects of fear and secrecy on the mental health of gay men in Hollywood in the middle of the century. Madison talks about the stress of working in a studio, contracts with morals provisions, the constant fear of being exposed in a tabloid, with the mental weight of always hiding on his identity. There were instances when I felt I could go crazy from faking, he admits. Every picture, every interview with a female co-star, it was all and something. But the real show never happened on the screen. It was part of everyday existence. But Madison doesn't just live in the darkness. He also likes the peaceful victories, the love messages written in code, and the sneaky looks across sound stages, the comfort of a hand held under edible in a restaurant. We made time for rights that we should be happy where we can. A world that sought to keep us from loving each other, we discovered it nevertheless. Guy Madison's Coeado Speak His Truth Even After Death gives a unique perspective on the stories of many actors whose names are yet hidden in bios that are coded and cleaned up studio histories. His narrative not only takes back his own truth, but also its larger endeavor to remember the lives of plus people who made a difference and were influenced by Hollywood's golden age after he retired from a lengthy and a good career in movies, and Guy Madison chose to settle on television in the peaceful and beautiful Morongo Valley in Southern California Shy Desert, which is famous for its beautiful splendor. Views of the mountains from all sides, and the Morongo Valley is a peaceful place, was the perfect place for Madison to go away. Who has been in the public eye for decades, he erected a big ranch-style house there, house that showed how much he loved the outside and his need for seclusion and peace in his later years. The property was not just Hisham, but also as a place where he could appreciate the natural beauty around them, entertain close friends, and do things with them, things to do for fun, like horseback riding and gardening, activities that had long appealed to the actor. especially since his past in action and westerns roles in adventure. But as time went on, Madison's health started to get worse. He was in pain from emphysema, which is a long-term and worsening condition, pulmonary disease that is typically linked to smoking, which made it very hard for him to mobility and ability to breathe in his last years. Even though he was sick, he allegedly stayed just as active as his condition authorized, getting visits from friends and staying in touch with numerous former colleagues and admirers who regarded him fondly for what he did in vintage television and movies. Guy Madison passed away on February 6, 1996, at the age of 74. He died at the hospice at Desert Hospital in Palm Springs, California, a place noted for giving care at the end of life with love. His death ended a time for fans who had seen him on screen as kids in film during the golden era of Hollywood westerns, especially in his famous part as Wild Bill Hickok. Madison was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Cathedral City, CA, a quiet and well-kept garden graveyard where people go to for a lot of famous people in Hollywood. He was buried there with other people who had died, stars, and showed how long-lasting the effect he had on the business of entertainment. The funeral service was simple but a poignant event with close friends, family, and people who used to work with people who had worked with Madison in person and in a professional way. Among those who paid in Burnett, a close friend, paid tribute to him, a close buddy and fellow performer who had changed careers to become a stockbroker. Burnett gave a speech at the funeral where he gave a eulogy that taught about Madison's work life, his character, his achievements, and the long-lasting friendships he had made for the rest of his life. His statements paid respect to Madison not merely as a public person and a devoted friend and a beloved actor, a poor man who has lived with honesty, grace, and calm pride. 3.